Have you ever looked at the tag on your shirt and seen "Made in Bangladesh"? And then gotten into your car that was built in, say, Germany? Ever wonder why that is? Well, it's not random at all. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful ideas in economics that explains exactly why countries trade the way they do. I mean, really think about it for a second. Why cars from Germany and clothes from Bangladesh? Is there some kind of hidden logic behind all this global trade? Well, that simple question is exactly what we're going to unpack today. So here's how we're going to do it. We'll start with this puzzle, then get to the core idea that solves it. We'll break down two key concepts, abundance versus intensity, and then look at who actually wins and loses from trade. After that, we'll see if this theory holds up in the real world, and we'll finish up with a quick quiz to check your understanding. All right, first up, let's get right to it, the core idea. The answer to our big puzzle comes from a really foundational theory in economics, known as the Heckscher Ohlin model, or just HO for short. Okay, so here's the big idea in a single sentence. A country will export the things that are made using the resources it has a ton of. These resources, what economists call factors of production, are really just the basic ingredients of an economy. We're talking labor, capital, land. It's honestly that straightforward. Now, you heard me use two very specific words there: abundant resources and intensive use. Getting the difference between these two is absolutely the key to unlocking this whole model. So, let's break them down. First off, let's talk about factor abundance. This is all about what a country has. But here's the crucial part. It's always a comparison. A country isn't just abundant in a vacuum. It's abundant relative to another country. For instance, the US has way more capital, like machines and factories, for each worker than Mexico does. So that makes the US a capital-abundant country. Okay, next up is factor intensity. This one describes what a product needs to be made. And again, it's all about comparison. Building a car, that requires a massive amount of machinery and tech for every single worker. But making a t-shirt, well, that needs less machinery and a lot more hands-on labor. So we'd say that making cars is capital intensive. So let's just boil this down. Abundance describes the country. It's what a country has. Intensity describes the good. It's what a product needs. Think of it like this. Abundance is the ingredients you have in your kitchen pantry, and intensity is the recipe for a specific dish. And this chart here, it pulls it all together beautifully. You see on the left, you've got the basic building blocks we just talked about, factor intensity and factor abundance. When you combine them, boom, you get the model's main prediction. A country exports the goods that soak up the resources it has plenty of. Let's make this super concrete with our example. The US is a capital-abundant country. Car manufacturing is a capital-intensive good. What does the model predict? The US exports cars. Now let's look at Mexico. It's a labor-abundant country, and textile production, that's a labor-intensive good. So the model predicts Mexico will export textiles. See? It's a perfect match between what a country has and what a product needs. Okay, section 3, trades winners and losers. Because this model isn't just about ships and products. It has huge, huge implications for people's paychecks. When a country opens up to trade, you gotta ask, who's gonna benefit and who might get left behind? So one of the wild predictions from this theory is something called factor price equalization. The basic idea is that through trade, the prices of the factors, so wages for labor and profits for capital, will start to get more and more similar across different countries. It's almost like by trading cars and t-shirts, countries are indirectly trading their workers and machines. But this is where it gets really interesting, and frankly, pretty controversial. The Stolper-Samuelson theorem tells us what happens inside a country. Get this. It says that free trade boosts the income of whichever factor a country has in abundance, but it lowers the income of the factor that's scarce. And what does that mean? It means trade creates clear winners and losers. This table makes it crystal clear. Let's take a capital-abundant country like the US. The owners of capital, we're talking factory owners, shareholders, they're the winners from trade. But labor is the scarce factor there, so workers might see their real wages go down. Now, flip it for a labor-abundant country like Mexico. It's the exact opposite. Workers are the ones who benefit, while the owners of capital might lose out. And this right here, this explains so much about the politics of trade, doesn't it? Okay, next up, theory meets reality. I mean, we've got this really elegant, clean theory, but we all know the real world is, well, it's messy. So how well does this model actually explain what's going on out there? Well, when economists actually go out and test this,
They find that while the HO model kind of points in the right direction, its direct effect on wages is usually pretty small. In fact, most economists would argue that something like technological change, automation, has had a way bigger impact on income inequality than trade itself. Plus, you've got other big pieces of the puzzle, like international investment and outsourcing, that the basic model doesn't really account for. Another way to think about it is that different models are useful for different time frames. The Heckscher Ohlin model, where we assume capital and labor can just smoothly move between industries, that's really a long-run story. In the short run, things are a lot more stuck in place, and other, different models might give us a better picture of what's happening right now. All right, we've made it to our final section. Let's test your knowledge. We've covered a bunch of ground, so let's see if the main ideas have stuck. Ready?
Okay, first one. Take a second to think. So the abundant factor here is skilled workers, right? And high-tech software is a good that is super skilled worker intensive. Wheat, on the other hand, is farmland intensive. The model says country X is going to export the good that uses its abundant resource. So the answer has to be B, high-tech software. All right, last question. In a country with abundant capital, who sees their income go down? Okay, let's remember that Stolper-Samuelson theorem. Trade helps the abundant factor, so in this case, the capital owners, but it hurts the scarce factor. If capital is abundant, then labor must be scarce, so it's the workers who would likely see their real incomes fall. The answer is B. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the Heckscher Ohlin model does a lot more than just solve that initial puzzle about cars and clothes. It gives us this incredibly powerful lens for understanding why debates about trade get so heated. Because by creating these clear winners and losers, a country's resources don't just decide what goes into a shipping container, they end up shaping the very political battles over globalization itself.